Why yes, I am wearing squeaky chicken earrings, and sadly, no, they do not squeak. Hello beautiful people of the internet, welcome or welcome back to my channel. My name is Hannah if you're new here, and I'm so incredibly excited that you've made it today. Today we're going to be talking about all of the books that I read in the month of May. Now, May was a crazy month. Cray. It's the last month of the school year, which I'm kind of glad that it's over, but also sad that it's over. What's even crazier, guys, is I'm about to tell you that I read 14 books in the month of May. 14. That is completely unheard of for me. For some reason, the reading bug just bit me and I was reading all the things. Before we go any further into this video, I want to address a few things. So obviously I am wearing my Comfy Cozy Book Club shirt, and I really just want to take a second and thank you from the bottom of my heart from the overwhelming amount of love and support that I have gotten over this book club. You guys are just so excited, and I really did not know what to expect going in, but you guys have been so welcoming and so loving with this book club, and I'm so excited to just share this book club with you. If you don't know what I'm talking about, I just announced my own online book club, and I did make a whole video on all the details on it, and I will link it down below. It was actually my recent upload, so go check that out if you're curious. Another thing that I wanted to show you guys is right behind me, and I'm sure that throughout this video you're going to kind of wonder what that is, so I'm going to go ahead and tell you what it is because it's really cute. Okay, so if you've been on my channel for a while, then you know that my all-time favorite book series is Shatter Me. My husband came to me a couple weeks ago and he started asking me all these questions about Shatter Me, and I was really curious and I was like, what are you doing? And he said, I'm making you something for all of the accomplishments that you're doing right now. And I just thought that was the sweetest thing. He really wanted to celebrate the fact that I'm almost at 1,000 subscribers. Oh my gosh, guys, thank you so much for being here. And he also wanted to celebrate the release of my new book club. My favorite book in Shatter Me is Ignite Me. That's my favorite book of all time. I am obsessed with Aaron Warner. This man literally bought a copy of Ignite Me and learned how to bind books. He learned how to spray edges, do gold foiling, and he literally bound this book for me in leather. Let's just take a look, okay? So this is the front. It's got like the little bird breaking out and the chain's broken, because if you know, you know. And then he made the little Ignite Me on the side, and then this is my favorite part. I don't know if you guys can see it super well. Oh, because if you know, like you know. The best part is the gold foiling on the pages. Are you kidding me? Are you absolutely kidding me right now? And he even added like a little tassel. And when you open the inside of the book, he made this little end page, like all by himself, with all these different quotes from this book in here. And I absolutely squealed. Yeah, I've won. Now that everything has been addressed, let's go ahead and talk about all the books that I read in the month of May. I don't even know what I read this month. Okay, the first book that I read was on my Kindle, and it's called The Edge of In Between, and this is by Lorelei Severin. I read this for my friend Keisha's readathon that she hosted this month called Bookathon, which is a spooky middle grade readathon. I believe that this round was the last round of Bookathon, at least for a while. So I'm gonna be honest, I didn't know much going into this one, and I really didn't expect much because I don't really read spooky middle grade. I don't really read middle grade in general, but I feel like this was the biggest surprise that I've gotten all year. This book follows a 12-year-old girl named Lottie, and Lottie has just recently lost her parents to a tragic car accident, and Lottie gets the opportunity to see them again. Obviously, she's grieving very, very heavily, and so she takes it. All she has to do is go to the land of in between. This is just Lottie's adventures trying to handle and live with the grief that she now has, and while also trying to see her parents again. There are so many gems of grief in here. Guys, when I tell you that the quotes, I do not physically own this book, and I would really never do this, but I read this on my Kindle, and I am going to go and get the physical copy of this book so I can annotate it and have it on my shelves, because one, the cover is absolutely stunning, and two, the quotes in here, the topic of grief in general is the best representation that I have read about. This book made me cry multiple times, and I'm not just talking like one tear every once in a while. No, like an ugly cry, because it felt like all the things that I have felt recently were just kind of displayed in this book, and it truly felt like, hey, you're not alone. One of my favorite things in here was the talk of the living gray, and basically it was people who have lost people, but they're just kind of living and going through the motions and not really trying to live with their grief. They're just kind of going through the motions and letting their grief overtake them. I'm going to stop talking about it because I'm going to start crying again, because this was the most beautiful book I think I've ever read. I loved this book so incredibly much. This book will definitely be a reread for me. It will be a annotated book for me. It was an easy 5 stars. And then I finally did it. I picked up an Abby Jimenez. I picked up Part of Your World by the one and only Abby Jimenez, and let's just talk about this one for a minute. So this one follows our main character, Alexis Montgomery, and she is a big city girl. She's not used to this small town life, and so she's stuck in a small town, and she meets this guy named Daniel Grant, and Daniel is the exact opposite of Alexis. They have very different lives, and upon certain circumstances, their paths meet, and obviously a romance ensues. This is a fan favorite. This is like one of the most talked about Abby Jimenez books that is out there. I am very incredibly picky when it comes to main characters. If I do not like the main character, more than likely I am not going to like the book. I liked this book. Hold on. Put the pitchforks down. I really did like this book. Daniel was the absolute treasure of this book. However, our friend Alexis was quite literally the most annoying character ever. I did not really love her. I didn't hate her, but I also didn't love her at the same time. Now, multiple people have told me it's just how she was raised. It's just where she comes from, but that doesn't excuse the behavior that she had throughout this book. And let me explain what I mean by that. Alexis's family was very against Daniel and very against the relationship. First of all, they didn't even know about it throughout the entire book, which was a huge red flag for me. And when they did eventually find out about it, obviously you can kind of read between the lines of what their reaction was. And my friends, I hate to say this, but I know that all too well, and I know what it feels like to be constantly degraded by somebody who's supposed to like you, much less love you. And it really got on my nerves that Alexis was constantly choosing her family over Daniel. And when I say that it was like 99% of the book, it was throughout the entire book. Daniel Grant was the only saving grace for this book. Put the pitchforks down, y'all. I liked it. It was a 3.5 for me. But again, Daniel Grant, love him. And then I picked up Dear Henry, Love Edith, and this is by Becca Kinzer. This is my first Becca Kinzer book, and I have heard really good things about the rest of her books. But I read this for my friend Keisha's book club, Revive. She runs a Christian book club that I will leave down below if you're interested. And I was one of the co-hosts to discuss this book. So I feel like I was in the minority of this book. I personally gave it a 3.5, and a lot of people gave this one some pretty low ratings. However, I think the reason that I rated it so highly is because I chose not to take it too seriously. I could see how some people don't like it because there are some things in here that are quite annoying, but again, I just brushed past them because I did like the banter and I did like the quotes in here. I thought it was pretty funny. However, if you're looking for a deep romance that's just going to make your heart flutter, this probably isn't that one. This is following our main character, Edith, and Edith has just lost her husband, and so she's kind of looking for something to do with her life, and so she decides that she's going to go on a mission trip in Africa. So while she's waiting on that paperwork to come through, she ends up finding a housemate, and his name happens to be Henry. However, the both of them think that they are elderly. That was one of my favorite parts of this book, is that they thought they were both elderly people. And so they kind of communicate through writing letters to each other, and things just ensue from there. What I liked about this book is that it had a small town vibe. It almost had Gilmore Girls vibes in it. I did like some of the townspeople, not all of them. Some of them were a little bit ignorant, it kind of hurt. And I did like the banter between these two characters. However, there were a couple of themes in here and a couple of things that happened that I personally didn't like, and I know a lot of people would agree with me on that. So again, if you are interested in picking this one up, I wouldn't go into this one with super high expectations. 3.5. Do with that what you will. Next is a book that I actually included in my pirate reading vlog, and that is Daughter of the Pirate King by Trisha Levenseller. Let's just take a minute for this special edition. This is actually a gift from my sweet friend Gwen. She's Gwendolyn Kinsinger over on YouTube, and she's just the kindest soul, and she gifted this to me because she knows I'm in my pirate era. So I won't go too into depth in this one because I did talk about it throughout the entire video, so I don't want to like beat a dead horse. Basically, this book follows our main character Alosa, and Alosa is the daughter of the Pirate King, and she gets herself kidnapped by these rebel pirates that are out for the Pirate King. So they think if they capture his daughter, then they'll really show him. But what they don't know is that they're actually playing with a little bit of fire, because Alosa is one of the strongest female characters that I've ever read about. She can handle her own. And you guys know that I'm down for a little pirate romance, and one ensues in here. I really did love this. I ended up giving it a 4 stars just because I felt like this was a fun time, but I was just kind of watching the characters. I didn't feel super connected to them, but yeah, I will definitely continue in this series. The next book that I read, it was actually a buddy read for me, and that is Better Than the Movies by Lynn Painter. This is a very popular book talk book that has been all over the internet. Lynn Painter in general, I feel like, is a very well-known name. This is her YA novel. I don't know if she normally writes YA. I think she does. But let me tell you, I tried to level my expectations with this one going in because I was like, everybody loves it, but I'm not going to overhype this book. And going into it, I was like, it's a little YA, I'm not even gonna lie. Listen to me, like, I love YA, and I was like,
this is giving YA.
Ridiculous. Anyway, so this follows our main character, Liz, and Liz is just living her life, being a teenage girl. You know, we've all done it. And she really likes this guy, and she really wants him to ask her to prom. There's this annoying guy in the background. His name is Wes, and Wes is her childhood enemy. And her and Wes come up with this perfect scheme that they're gonna like act interested in one another and like kind of fake date to get this other guy to see Liz and get jealous. This was so cute. Literally, I told you that I started this book and I was like,
it's giving YA.
It was a little young starting out, and I was like trying to put my head back into that whole high school prom sort of thing, and that was a little bit jarring, not gonna lie. But once you're in it, honey, you're in it for the ride. It was so much fun. This was so funny. It was so sweet. And each chapter actually starts with a line from a famous rom-com. Now, if you know, you know. I do not watch a ton of movies, so I didn't really even know any of these, but I do have some that I need to get to watching. 5 stars. The next book I picked up was actually a Christian nonfiction, and that is Fervent, and this is by Priscilla Schreier. Guys, I don't know your opinion on Priscilla Schreier, but it is very hard to deny that she is a great woman of God, and she uses her voice for good, and I do think the things that she stands on are based on truth. So this is her book about having a war strategy for prayer, and I absolutely loved it. This is one that I didn't tab, but I did highlight throughout it, and I am going to be rereading this book. I did listen to this as well, and I highly recommend that you do that because she's actually the narrator. I'm going to read you a little bit of the synopsis so that way you can get a feel for what this book is about. You have an enemy, and he's dead set on destroying all you hold dear. He does it specifically. He's doing it right this minute. In fact, aimed at personally drawn targets on your heart, your home, your mind, and your life. And this book, this battle plan, is your chance to fight back with a weapon that really works, with prayer. It was so good. I loved this. Next book I read was Burntown by Jennifer McMahon. I actually buddy read this one with my friends Gwen and Keisha, and I also included this one in a recent vlog. So again, I won't beat a dead horse on this one. However, I do think that this is the most convoluted book that I've ever read in my entire life. There was so much going on, but also like nothing going on at all. This one is following a lot of different characters. Basically, there was a murder take place a long time ago, and fast forward, we're moving through the family root of this person that was killed, and we're following different people that have something to do with the actual murder that's been taken place. Sounds intriguing, right? no, this was so hard to follow. It was so hard to focus on anything that was happening, and there were so many weird, strange things that happened in this book. I gave this one a 2-star. Next book was also included in a vlog, and this is called One of Our Own, and it's by Lucinda Berry. Y'all, Lucinda Berry scares me. I just need to stop reading her books because holy cow, I recently read the book Saving Noah by Lucinda Berry. I don't know why I went into this one blind again, because this one was just as horrifying as Saving Noah. This one follows our main character who works at a suicide prevention hotline, and right off the gate we are talking about a call that has come in from a girl who is having some problems. Basically, she has been assaulted by this group of boys, and there is video evidence of it. And it's circling all throughout the school, and she's having a very hard time with that. This is a horrifying book. I am not recommending you this book. I'm pretty sure I told you that in the vlog. Same thing with Saving Noah. I am not recommending that book to you. I'm not telling you to read it. Please do not read it. Yeah, it's, I thought these were just thrillers, and they're much more than that. And then I picked up an absolute gem of a book, Just for the Summer by Abby Jimenez. Yes, another Abby Jimenez on my May wrap-up. Everybody and their brother's cousin is reading this. And so I went into this one with very level expectations, and obviously I hated it. No, I didn't. I freaking love this one. This was one of the best romances that I've ever read in my life. Not to be dramatic or anything. This one follows our main characters, Emma and Justin, and Emma and Justin feel like they're cursed. They feel like every time that they break up with somebody, then that person meets the love of their life. But they cannot find the love of their life. So they meet over like talking over the internet. So what they decide to do is that they're going to date each other, and then after they break up, they'll find the love of their life. We all know that's not how that goes, okay? I've got a couple words for this book, and if you don't know them, then that's just another reason for you to go into this book. Number 1, date invitations. Number 2, carrots. Number 3, unicorn floaty. That's all. That's all I have to say. Solid 5 stars. Next book I read was All the Missing Girls by Megan Miranda. This is the first book that I picked up for the Mystery and Mayhem readathon that I participated in that was hosted by Madi at the Bookish Cottage. I'll leave her information down below. It is over now, but I believe she's bringing it back next year. I've heard very mid things about Megan Miranda before even going into this one. This is my first and last Megan Miranda. This was not good. This was so boring. I can't even tell you what it was about. I think it was about this, this was about this girl whose best friend had gone missing at a fair, and she was like years later still trying to figure out what happened to her, and that's literally it. I don't even care enough to look at the synopsis. Guys, I do not care. I do not care about this book. This was awful, and I'm sorry to say that because that sounds so mean, because I mean, this author put in work for this, but this was just not my cup of tea. I was not the audience for this book. It was very boring. I was listening to it and there was still nothing happening. 1 star. Yet another book I talked about in a vlog, and that is The Elite, and this is by Kira Cass. This is book number 2 in the Selection series. If you don't know what the Selection series, my friends, then you are late to the game because I'm ahead of you. I seriously, I felt like I was late to the game with this series. I feel like it had its time, and it's coming back slowly but surely. This one is still following the Selection. The group of girls that Prince Maxon has to choose from is slightly smaller now, and America is still there. However, in this one, I gave this one a solid 4 stars. This one, America really kind of got on my nerves at some points because she is very immature. She makes the most rash decisions that I've ever seen. She just acts without even thinking, which given she is young, this is a YA series, so I kind of have to step back and kind of remember that. But at the same time, she's running to become the princess and the queen of this country, so she can't just like dawdle around and just do whatever she wants. But besides that point, I did love this one. I love this whole game that they're trying to play, and let me tell you, Prince Maxon has my heart. This next book I actually got approved for on NetGalley. This is a middle grade graphic novel called Heebie Jeebies, and it's by Matthew Urban. This one is following our main characters Blue and Herschel, and these are 2 boys that are just just sick of dealing with bullies. So they come up with a perfect plan. They have decided that they're going to go find the legendary treasure that is hidden underneath their middle school. That'll really show them. I was not the audience for this book, and I just did not like this one. I definitely wasn't the audience for it. That's all I can tell you. I gave this a 2 stars. I think before I was halfway through, the word poo had been mentioned like at least 5 times. It wasn't anything memorable, and it's definitely not something that I think I'll read ever again, but I do think there is an audience for this book, and it's just not me. Then I went into this book on my Kindle, and it's called Unmissing, and it's by Minka Kent. I never read anything by Minka Kent before, but I have heard really good things about her books. So this one is following a woman who was kidnapped, and she was presumed to be dead by everyone that loved her, including her husband. So her husband just moves on. 9 years later, she shows up on his doorstep, very much alive. And get this, we're getting both perspectives of the first wife who got kidnapped and his new wife. This was easily 5 stars. I ate this up with a fork and a spoon. I loved it so much. It was so bingeable. It was like 250 pages. I also tandem read this one, and I do recommend that you do that because the audio is so good. And last but not least is my last buddy read of the month, and that was Bad Blood by Jennifer Lynn Barnes. I read this with my friends Wendy at Wendy's Inspiring Reads and Kaitlin from Pride and Paperback. This is the last book of the Natural series by Jennifer Lynn Barnes, and I am so incredibly sad that it's over. If you've never heard me talk about the Natural series before, it's basically a YA Criminal Minds story that follows this group of teenagers that has these super abilities that help the FBI. This is so much fun. I love this series, but I do want to make a very, very clear disclaimer when I talk about this book. I would say books 1 and 2 are very clear cut. They're very Criminal Minds-esque. When you get into book 3 and 4, these get a little bit darker. They don't get super graphic or anything, but I will say that this takes a turn that I really wasn't expecting for this series to go in. Personally, I didn't mind it. I typically like this trope in books, but I do know some people that do not care for this. So if you would like to read this series or at least continue in the series and you're worried about that, just private message me on Discord or Instagram and I will answer any questions that you have. But I do think that this takes a turn that a lot of people might not like. Personally, I loved it. This last one I gave 3 stars because I do think that Jennifer Lynn Barnes could have benefited for having another book in this series, because in this one there was so much jam-packed in it. I feel like it was kind of hard to follow at times of who was who and what they had to do with the situation going on, but overall it was still really good. I loved the ending of the series. I do feel satisfied with how it ended, but y'all, when I tell you it went crazy, it went crazy. And there you have it, my friends. Those are all the books that I read in the month of May. If you made it this far into the video, please leave me a red heart, obviously for Bad Blood, and let me know what your favorite book of the month was. If you haven't already, please go and join the Discord and the Instagram of Comfy Cozy Book Club. There are so many fun things that I have planned for Comfy Cozy, and if you're not part of that community, you're really missing out. All right, my friends, until next time, I love you so much. Thank you so much for being here, and I will see you on my next video. Bye, guys.